99% of people are staring at a price chart, waiting for a green candle to tell them what to do next. They're looking at least for that next meme coin, the next hype cycle, or some kind of flash in the pan trend that will be forgotten by next Tuesday. But while the crowd is distracted by the noise, something massive is happening in the shadows. The world's most powerful entities, sovereign nations and global enterprises, are quietly moving their most sensitive data off of the traditional grid. Now, we aren't talking about decentralized social media or play-to-earn games anymore. We are witnessing the moment a blockchain stops being a speculative asset and starts to become a national security infrastructure. Now, if you've been wondering why the utility of cryptos always feels a bit like a distant promise, well, you've been looking in the wrong place. See, the shift from simple consumer applications to state-level cloud engines is the only thing that actually matters. And by the time that most people realize what's happening, the foundation of the new internet will already be locked down. We've lived under a digital dictatorship for 20 years, and most of us didn't even notice. See, we call it the cloud, but as we've discussed before, that's just a marketing term for someone else's computer. Now, specifically, computers owned by 3 or 4 companies in Silicon Valley: Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. They hold the keys to the kingdom. And if you run a business, a bank, or even a government agency, your data likely sits in a warehouse in Virginia or Ireland, owned by a corporation that can change the terms of service whenever they want. This is the central villain in our story today: a legacy IT monopoly. See, it's a system that is built on fragile foundations. I mean, think about how we secure data today, right? We build giant digital walls, firewalls, and we hire armies of security experts to watch for intruders. But walls, they can be climbed. Firewalls can be bypassed. We see it every single day with massive data breaches that expose the private records of millions. The system is reactive, not proactive. It waits for a hack and then tries to patch the hole. The internet computer was designed to flip this entire model on its head. It isn't another layer 1 blockchain for moving money. It is a fully decentralized, self-writing public cloud. This is the shift that 99% of people are missing. They see ICP and they think coin. Right? They should actually be thinking infrastructure. See, the core of this revolution is something that is called a canister. In the old world, you had a server, a database, and a front end, all disconnected and vulnerable. But in this new world, a canister bundles the code and the data together in a single tamper-proof unit. It doesn't run on a single server. It runs across a decentralized network of independent nodes. You don't need a firewall because the architecture itself makes conventional hacking mathematically impossible. This is the first step in the transition from a consumer-grade toys to enterprise-grade reality. As we move through 2026, the conversation has shifted. Governments are no longer asking, is crypto a scam? They are asking, how do we protect our national data from foreign interference? Well, this is where the concept of sovereign cloud engine comes in. For a long time, the biggest barrier to blockchain adoption, or at least for states, was the global nature of the technology. A government in Europe doesn't really want their citizens' healthcare data sitting on a node in a country with different privacy laws. So they need data localization. They need to know exactly where the little bits and bytes are stored. Traditional blockchains, they couldn't do this, but the internet computer uses subnets. Now think of a subnet as a specialized slice of the network. Each subnet is a collection of nodes that work together to host specific applications. Now, because these subnets are controlled by the network nervous system, the algorithmic brain of the project, they can be configured with specific rules. And this leads us to the landmark event of January 2026. 2026, World Computer Day in Davos. Now, while the elites were talking about global policy, a new reality was being demonstrated: the Swiss subnet. Now, this was the first true national cloud engine. It consisted of 13 independent node providers, all located strictly within the borders of Switzerland and Liechtenstein. Now, this isn't a private blockchain, it is a sovereign slice of the public one. It allows for Swiss banks and government agencies to meet the very strict GDPR and data residency laws, while still getting all of the benefits of decentralization. They get the security of the global network with the legal compliance of a local one. Now, this is a structural difference that Amazon simply cannot match. If Amazon is a giant centralized fortress, a sovereign subnet is a decentralized web that exists only where you want it to. But here is the question for you. If you were a government official responsible for the private data of millions of citizens, would you rather trust a corporate service agreement from a foreign company or a mathematical guarantee provided by a decentralized network that lives within your own borders? The Swiss subnet was not a fluke, it was a blueprint. For following the success that we saw with massive push for data localization laws across the globe, countries are tired of their data being harvested by the big tech giants of the West. They want data sovereignty. I mean, take a look at what happened in May 2026 with the Pakistan Digital Authority. They didn't just launch a website, they launched a national infrastructure project built on the internet computer. They created the Pakistan subnet to host national identity systems and government applications. Why? Because it's cheaper, faster, and infinitely more secure than trying to build a centralized data center that could and would be a constant target for cyber warfare. This is where the guaranteed demand comes in. You see, when a nation state moves its infrastructure to a blockchain, it creates a constant, massive need for computational power. Every time a citizen accesses a government portal, every time a bank processes a transaction, and every time an AI model is queried, the network burns cycles. Now, cycles are the fuel of the internet computer. They are created by burning ICP tokens. Now, this is the reverse gas model. See, in the old crypto world, you would pay a fee for every transaction. But in this new world, well, the developer, in this particular case, or the government, they pay for the computation in the background. Now, the user doesn't even know that they are using a blockchain. They just see a fast, secure application. But behind the scenes, tokens are being burned at an industrial scale. 99% of people are looking for retail adoption, but the real utility shift is coming from these massive state-leveled engines that burn tokens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, we cannot talk about national infrastructure without talking about artificial intelligence. AI is the most powerful tool ever created, and it is also a massive privacy nightmare. See, right now, most AI is a black box. You send your data to a corporate server, your AI processes it, and you're going to get an answer. But you have absolutely no idea what happened to your data in between. Now, for a sovereign nation, this is unacceptable. You cannot run a country's logistics, defense, or financial systems on an AI that you don't control. Now, this has created a global push for AI sovereignty. The internet computer that is solving this by running AI models entirely on-chain. This is what we would call the trustless AI. Because the AI lives inside a canister, the execution is verifiable. You can prove that the AI did exactly what it was supposed to do without anyone peeking at the data. Now, Caffeine.ai is the leader in this space right now. By May 2026, their version 3 stack has made vibe coding a reality. This means that people are using AI to build complex applications by just describing them in plain English. But The real magic is these applications that are being deployed onto sovereign subnets. Imagine a national healthcare AI that can diagnose diseases without ever sending patient data to a central server. Where the model is decentralized, the data is encrypted, and the execution is sovereign. Now, this isn't just a technical improvement, it is a total change in the power dynamic between citizens, governments, and corporations. Let's get into the how. You see, why can the internet computer do all of this when Ethereum or Solana cannot? Well, it actually comes down to the fundamental structural differences. See, most blockchains are designed to be a global state machine. Right? Every node in the world has to agree on every single transaction. Now, this is great for security, but it's terrible for scaling. It's like trying to run global cities where every single person has to vote on every single traffic light change. It eventually grinds to a halt. The internet computer uses a network of network approaches. It's a collection of subnets that can grow indefinitely. Now, if the network needs more power, it can add more subnets. Now, this architecture allows the network to process millions of transactions per second. As of mid-May 2026, we are seeing the network handle over 3,800 transactions per second with a finality of less than 2 seconds. More importantly, it uses chain key cryptography. Now, this allows the network to have a single public key, even as it grows to thousands of nodes. Now, that's what enables chain fusion, the ability for the internet computer to talk directly to Bitcoin and Ethereum without using risky bridges. This technical depth is what 99% of people miss because they don't really want to read the white papers. See, they want just a quick win. But enterprise-level infrastructure isn't built on quick wins. It's built on robust, verifiable architecture. See, when a sovereign entity, it looks at the market. They aren't looking for who has the best marketing. They are looking at who has the most secure code. And now, well, we have to look at the economic reality of all of this transition. See, we have to just stop here for a second to let you all know that I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for informational and educational purposes. The crypto market is volatile and you could genuinely lose everything. So it's very important that you do your own research because at the end of the day, your money is your responsibility. To support this massive transition to enterprise utility, the network has undergone a radical economic transformation. This was Mission 70. Now, for years, the internet computer was criticized for its high inflation rate. Too many tokens were being minted to reward stakers, which put constant downward pressure on the price. Now, Mission 70 was the big fix. The goal was simple but brutal: cut token inflation by 70%. This involved a complete overhaul of the reward structure. They increased the cost of cycles, the computational fuel, by 5 times. They slashed the rewards for node providers to bring them closer to the actual cost of running hardware. And they moved to target an inflation rate of just 2.92% by the end of 2026. The strategy was clear: shift the network from a subsidized growth phase into a utility-driven phase. They want the demand for computational cycles from these national subnets to eventually outpace the creation of new tokens. This would make the token deflationary. And if you are evaluating the network's intrinsic value, well, you do have to look at the strict utility execution. Now, the value is no longer based on a maybe one day people will use this. Value is now based on how many national engines are burning tokens today. Now, this is the fundamental framework for understanding the long-term price action. Now, with all of that said, it does raise a question for you guys. Do you think prioritizing the tokenomics and the burn rate to attract big institutions is more important than keeping rewards high for the early community members who supported the project from day one? Now, we do have to address the conflict. Every revolution has a cost, and for the internet computer, that cost was the community's trust. To make Mission 70 work and to pivot towards the enterprise-first model, the Affinity Foundation, they had to make a choice that left many stakers feeling betrayed. There was a group called the 8-Year Stakers. Now these were the true believers who locked their tokens for the maximum time possible to secure the network. They were the backbone of the community. But as part of the economic overhaul, the rules were changed. The maximum lockup time was slashed from 8 years to just 2. The migration of these neurons was meant to create a more liquid and predictable market. But for those who had planned their lives around an 8-year commitment, it felt like a rug pull. The protocol retroactively changed the terms of the deal. Now this is the deep dark hole of our investigation. Can a network truly be decentralized and trustless if the central foundation can influence such a massive change in the economic rules? The NNS voted for it, yes, but the influence of the foundation in that vote is a point of heavy contention. This reputation risk is the shadow that hangs over the project's institutional pivot. If they did it once, would they do it again? Despite all of the internal drama, the outside world, the world of big money, is seeing exactly what they want to see. They see a project that is growing up. They see a project that is willing to make the hard, unpopular choices to ensure its long-term economic viability. Now, this is why we are seeing a surge in institutional interest in May 2026. Bitwise and Grayscale are leading the charge for ICP ETFs. In Europe, Valor Inc. has already launched a physically backed staking ETP. Now, the institutions, they don't care about the grievances of the 8-year stakers. They care about the fact that the sovereign nations are building on this tech. They see the chain fusion tech that allowing Bitcoin to be used in smart contracts without bridges. They see the sovereign cloud eating Amazon's lunch in specific jurisdictions. And they see a token supply that is being aggressively tightened. This is the utility shift in action. The demand is no longer coming from people trading dog coins. It's coming from fund managers who need to hedge against the decay of traditional cloud monopolies. When you're doing, at least dealing with these kinds of assets, especially during periods of high volatility like what we've seen recently, then you do have to be careful about where you store your capital. Now, I always use cold storage for the bulk of my portfolio, and then I use an exchange redundancy strategy to make sure that I have access to the market. See, I don't keep all of my assets on one platform. My go-to platforms are Binance, Coinbase, Bybit, BitGet, Blowfin, Kraken, and many, many others. But I simply just recommend getting signed up for as many Tier 1 exchanges as possible. That way, if one platform has an issue, you aren't locked out of your positions. I'll put a list together in the pinned comment down below for all of the exchanges I'm currently using. The transition isn't just happening at the government level, it's happening at the enterprise level too. Large corporations are starting to realize that the cost of maintaining their own data centers is becoming unsustainable. They're looking for hybrid cloud solutions. They want to keep some things on site, but move their heavy-duty computation to a decentralized provider that is cheaper and more secure. The internet computer is positioning itself as that provider. We are seeing Gen 2 hardware being deployed across the network to handle these enterprise workloads. Now, this hardware is specifically optimized for the high-intensity needs of AI and large-scale data processing. The older, slower nodes are being purged. It's a survival of the fittest at the hardware level. This is another part of the utility shift that 99% of people are missing. You see, they see the node count going down and think that the network is shrinking, but in reality, the quality of the nodes is going up. Now, we are moving from a hobbyist network to a professional, industrial-grade compute engine. However, we do have to be honest about the hurdles. While the top-down adoption from governments is booming, the bottom-up developer growth is facing some friction. The Divinity Foundation has pulled back on its open grant programs. They want the community to fund itself through the Service Nervous System, the SNS. But the SNS is a high-bar platform. It's great for established projects, but it's very hard for a new developer with a great idea to get off of the ground. Now, this has created a funding gap for the small-scale builders. Some are moving to other ecosystems where the money is easier to get. If the internet computer becomes a playground only for governments and massive corporations, does it lose its soul as the people's computer? There are some new platforms like Drifty Launch trying to fix this, but the friction, it is real. See, the network is in a transitional phase. It's awkward, it's painful, and it's creating a lot of noise. But if you look past that noise, the core signal remains. The technical debt of the old internet is being called in, and this protocol is the only one standing ready to collect. So, what does that all mean for you? Well, it means that you have to stop thinking about crypto just as digital gold or digital money. You have to start thinking about it as digital energy. See, the internet computer is a system for converting capital, ICP tokens, into computational energy. And as the world becomes more digital, and as AI becomes the primary driver of the global economy, the demand for that energy will become infinite. Now, the shift from simple consumer applications to state-level infrastructure is the proof of concept. When a country like Switzerland or Pakistan stakes its digital future on a protocol, the debate about utility is over. The utility shift is no longer a theory. It is a live, burning reality. 99% of people are missing this because they are looking at least for a use case that looks like an app on their phone. They are looking for a decentralized Uber or a decentralized Twitter. Now, those things might come, but they are not the engine. The engine is the sovereign cloud. The engine is the trustless AI. The engine is the data localization that protects national security. Now, if you want to stay on top of all of these shifts as they happen and get access to the research before it hits the mainstream, then you should join our free educational Discord. There's a community of people who are looking at the same data and tracking these assets in real time. The link is in the description below, and you can consider this an open invitation.